What's going on, everybody? This is Mike, and this is Serial at Night, episode number 44. I'm messing with my level here, so if I'm a little... There we go. So anyway, got some things to talk about. If you've been following Twitter, you'll have seen that I picked up a PlayStation 4 Pro, and I had previously picked up an Xbox One S, as well as 4K HDR TV. All of those things are relevant to this conversation because I learned some stuff about HDR this week that I didn't previously know. And I also have some comments about it, and so I'm going to do a little bit of more going to be a stream of conscience here while I kind of talk some of this stuff out. But first, before that, I want to apologize first and foremost to a Twitter follower that kind of went back and forth with this week, and it was kind of a jackassery for me. So I wanted to apologize for that to at old game fanboy on Twitter. Kind of back and forth about the when I got the Pro and kind of posting pictures and stuff. There's a misunderstanding, and certainly that's not acceptable, and that's a douchebag move on my part. So I wanted to apologize to him for that. So let's get started. If you want to contact the show, so actually first we're getting more listeners every week, and the Serial at Nights are really this Mike, by the way, like I said, we have two shows on the website. One is Retro Jones and one is Serial at Night. Retro Jones, myself and Mitch, talking a variety of stuff. Try to keep it retro focused, but often get into modern games, things like that. And Serial at Night is my little show that I kind of just turn on the microphones and talk to it for a while if I have thoughts, opinions on things. And so that's what we're going to do today. So if you want to get a hold of the show, questions at RetroGameFix.com. If you want to call, 678-995-5103. That is a voicemail. Again, no one's going to answer that. 678-995-5103. A couple things there. Over the last few months, we had some technical stuff going on where we couldn't play voicemails from people, and we've got those resolved. So if you have voicemails and you want to call, go ahead and do that. And then you can also get to us on social media, Facebook.com, Twitter.com, and YouTube.com/RetroGameFix on all of those sites. YouTube, we haven't done a lot on there for a while, but certainly on Twitter and Facebook. So if you want to get a hold of us, those are the places to do it. So anyway, PlayStation 4 Pro comes out, and I didn't plan on picking one up. As a matter of fact, about 2 weeks ago almost, I went and picked up, actually it was 2 weeks ago, I went and picked up a second PlayStation 4 Slim, because I have two areas in the house that I wanted to hook up PlayStations. First world problems, I know. And I didn't have a second PlayStation 4 on the other TV, but I wanted to get one on it. And so I knew the PlayStation 4 Pro was coming out, and I thought, you know what, through this Target deal with the Cartwheel app and with the 5% off from Red Card, and plus the 10% wishlist app, all of them stacked together, there was a week there where you could get the PlayStation 4 Slim for, I think, it was like $220 out the door, taxes plus taxes in your area. So I went and did that. And I thought, hey, you know what? I'm not going to want to spend the money on the PlayStation 4 Pro because, well, that's $400 without thinking about the fact that I could still use my Target Red Card and could still use the wishlist app coupon. So PlayStation 4 Pro comes out, and obviously, like I'm one to do, and Mitch never buys into the BS. I'm like, I'm not going to get the PlayStation 4 Pro. And in his, he usually agrees with me, but in his head, he's probably like, Mike's going to go buy the damn thing. So I see it's in stock at Target, and I'm like, I got to have it. And so before we get to my thoughts on that, I've got a great story. So I essentially ended up getting it for $280. And this can't be replicated, I don't think. So it's $399. Again, plus taxes in your area, but it's $399. And you can use the 10% off, drops it down to $360, plus the 5% off, drops it down to roughly $340, give or take, because it takes it off of the $360 with your red card. So I end up trying to do that online for store pickup. Here's what ends up happening, though. It wouldn't take my red card number for some reason. So I had to call customer service because I was calling to see if my red card was screwed up. It wasn't. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to call the online service to see if there's something with the Target website, because that's what I was actually directed to do. I get on with a nice Target representative, and she's like, hey, I'm going to take your card over and see if I can't place that order for you. Turns out she can't place the order. So she's saying, all right, and this horror deal is going on for quite a while. And she's finally like, you know what I'm going to do? Let's put the order on another card if you have one. And I'll just give you a $60 gift card. Essentially, it was a longer story than that, but eventually we arrived at a second form of payment. She'd give me $60 on a gift card. Great, I thought. And she was going to do a few things, and there's going to be refunds that hit my card. Because we weren't going to do the gift card, and then she was going to actually just process 10% refunds on my card, so I was going to pay the full price, and then I'd get refunds. Anyway, that didn't happen, and that's why she decided to just give me the $60 gift card. So anyway, to make a long story short, she processes the order and the $60 gift card, and I get in. I'm like, great, thank you. I wait on my email. I get my email back, and I get an email that says, instead of the $399 plus tax, the 10% actually went through. So that's great. So now instead of $399, I'm at $360 plus a $60 gift card. Awesome. I'm not probably going to say anything about that. So I go to the store and pick it up. I get back home, check my email again. My $60 gift card is now there. And then I got another email that they said they just refunded me 5% for my troubles from the Target gift card. So I ended up getting both deals. I ended up getting the 10% back, the 5% back, plus a $60 gift card that was supposed to offset those two things. So hooray me, I guess, for that happening. But anyway, so that happened. So anyway, I get home, I hook it up. Everything hooks up fine, other than there's some issues with LG TVs. And so LG has a handshake issue apparently with the PlayStation 4 Pro going on right now with HDMI or HDCP 1.4 versus 2.2. Long story short, you got to force it to 1.4, which could cause some other issues. I'm not going to fully get into those. But so I get everything working. I turn it on, and I'm going to tell you, everything like actually looks really, really, really nice. The pixel density is fine. I turned on Last of Us, Titanfall, some of the other games that have some of the upscaling HDR, things like that. And it looks really great. I'll say this, it's not native 4K. I can tell the difference. Yeah, I want to be clear about that because I can do native 4K, and I have a native 4K on my TV on my PC. It looks sharper. It looks sharper on a native 4K. And that's to be expected. What I'm going to say, but there's the obvious point. Everybody's price premium. The obvious point is, A, I don't want a game on a PC. B, PCs that can do 4K are getting expensive. That is 100% true. I'm only noting it because it is certainly noticeable by me. But that said, I love this kind of stuff. I don't know if it's actually noticeable. I don't know how noticeable it would be by other, I don't know how I don't think my mom or my girlfriend would even notice the difference between the native and the upscaled. So that's cool. So anyway, I'm thinking, all right, let me try just to see how the base upscaling works. So I put in Destiny, and I throw Destiny on my Xbox One, I throw Destiny on my PS4, and I start switching inputs. Can't tell the difference. I can't tell the difference between this checkerboard that the PS4 does and whatever upscaling the Xbox One does. And as a matter of fact, I said this in another podcast, I actually couldn't tell the difference between my TV upscaling and the Xbox One S. Not significantly, right? And so that's where I think the upscaling on my TV or the Xbox One S or the PlayStation 4 Pro, I think all of those work fine. But there is certainly a difference between native 4K and 4K on on the upscaled consoles. So, but that's not a bad thing. Again, considering the price, I like all four of these platforms, or three of these platforms. So, what is it I like about the PlayStation 4 Pro? Well, out of the gate, if it's another $100, and you can swing that extra $100, I think it's worth it to. And you don't have a PlayStation 4, I think it's worth it to. To get the Pro out of the gate and just kind of be future proof. That's not everybody. People have already said that. Already. It's not just me saying that at this point. That said, where I differ a little bit is the fact that a lot of people have said, if you already have a PlayStation 4, I don't know if it's worth upgrading. And I just got done saying, I don't know if I can tell the difference between the upscaling. For me, it's still worth upgrading. Here's why. You can probably get $200 for your other PlayStation 4. Again, it's going to be a $200 upgrade. But the fact is, once we start to see a wide stream acceptance of HDR, better 10-bit and 12-bit panels, and just the overall options that you get with the PlayStation 4 Pro, I think it's worth upgrading. And the reason I did it was because I have this 4K TV. I want the consoles that go along with it. And, I didn't get the 4K TV to not get the consoles that are pushing 4K at it. That's why I have both of them. And right now, obviously, the Xbox Scorpio is coming, but that's why I have both of them. Now, again, if you don't have a 4K TV, I wouldn't get the consoles, but, at the same time, I don't know, and again, this isn't to shout down anybody's purchasing decisions, but if you weren't going to get the consoles, I don't know why, a person would get the TV, unless, again, you're really into, Blu-rays or something like that, in which case you're going to get the Xbox One S. So, overall, are there huge differences so far? No, I don't think so. Can I tell a difference? Yes. Is it hard to tell? Yes. Would most people notice? No. But, having spent the money on the 4K TV, I want the 4K devices to go along with it. So that's really my justification. So I mentioned HDR, and I kind of went on a little Twitter rampage about this earlier. I have no effing clue now what HDR is. So HDR is high dynamic range, and you're supposed to get more accurate colors while providing providing larger contrast for blacks and whites to really make things pop on the screen as needed. I'm still trying to figure out how the hell this technology works, because from what I've been researching, sounds like this HDR thing might just be 240 hertz frame rates again, refresh rates again, because 240 hertz on televisions looked like crap in my opinion, and it never really worked, and your games never output at 240 hertz. So those extra 180 frames this thing was pushing out the TV wasn't getting it from the console, so then it caused input lag. And at the end of the day, you had to turn off all of that post-processing stuff and turn on the game mode on your TV in order to avoid input lag. Which brings us to HDR. And so I didn't connect the dots. I knew HDR was post-processing, but I didn't think there was any way in hell that the game consoles, being the primary pusher of 4K content and HDR, that they would jump on this HDR bandwagon if the television manufacturers didn't have HDR figured out in a fashion that didn't introduce input lag. I was wrong. So Sony and Samsung have both patched their TVs for HDR game mode that does not cause problems, input lag with games. LG and Vizio, for example, haven't. I happen to have one of the LG TVs that hasn't been patched, which is frustrating as hell. And I was wondering why Gears and Forza didn't feel quite right after I'd got the Xbox One S. And I thought, well, maybe it's just a game now, maybe it's in my head. I have no idea. And for me, the input lag isn't crazy. So on the Sony and Samsungs, apparently, generally you want your input lag under 30 milliseconds. Which Sony, LG, Vizio, base modes, game modes, all of them are under that. For Sony and Samsung, it sounded like HDR was pushing them up in the 120 milliseconds range, which is absurd. I mean, it's terrible, right? So on my TV, apparently, it's rated at 70 milliseconds delay, which is still actually, like on a shooter, it's just not, you can't be accurate. And this isn't competitive multiplayer. This is just the fact that it's not accurate. And so I start Googling. It sounds like, LG hasn't even talked about this. And so, or hasn't issued anything. So there's a petition started to at least get LG to respond. I mean, if they can't fix it, they can't fix it. That's fine. I just want to know. The frustrating part, I think, for everybody is the fact that these are, especially for the OLEDs, are $2,500 to $4,000 TVs, depending on, depending, that's the OLEDs, but even some of the lower end LGs, right, are going to be $1,000 to $2,000, and they're all pushing this HDR thing, and you're not getting, and a lot of people aren't getting their money's worth, or at least from the gaming side, and so, it's extremely frustrating, and I want my HDR to work. I don't think it's a make or break for me, but it's certainly going to become part of my purchasing decision moving forward. I think what's also worth noting, it sounds like HDR is all post-processing, which is weird because you can get true 10 and 12-bit panels that have these large color ranges. But what I think the HDR does, and it doesn't sound like HDR is all created equal. It sounds like HDR kind of takes what the image is throwing at it and then brightens and does something with the brightness and contrast to really create that pop. And so I've been trying to figure out, and if anybody knows, shoot me an email or leave us a voicemail. Again, questions at RetroGameFix.com or call 678-995-5103. What's the difference between YCBCR444 and HDR? Because if these are 10 or 12-bit panels and game publishers and developers can push the core data at the TV, then I don't understand why it just can't display. You just can't code up technically in HDR format, which actually would be more like high native range. But it sounds like these OLED TVs, a lot of them aren't coming with true 10-bit or 12-bit panels. They're coming with the same 4K 8-bit panels that were in other televisions with some sort of post-processing to emulate what HDR actually is. That's what it sounds like to me. And this is the problem. There's no easy way to figure out what the hell HDR is, because there is a standard, but none of these TVs seem to, it doesn't, I'm at a complete loss with it, and it's actually quite frustrating. And I imagine, it's frustrating for people that have spent a ton of money on these things. And so, I hope they come out and get this squared away. And I want to hit on just one thing, because this kind of sums up my thoughts so far. And so I was on M4G. I know it's kind of troll heaven here, but I wanted to say something because someone mentioned gamers are so entitled. OLEDs are not responsive by nature. Do some damn research first. All OLEDs are responsive. It depends on the OLED, but OLEDs are responsive because they use one in the Vita. But usually I do agree with do some damn research first before you buy something. But it's very difficult in the days of very vague marketing. And so, and so I had to comment. And so this is what I said. I said, normally I'd agree, but in the case of HDR and input lag, the numbers are not always easy to find. In addition, these numbers are not provided from the manufacturer. As well, the manufacturer has the ability for them to change depending on a firmware update. One could also assume that $2,000 to $4,000 TV should certainly accommodate gamers, considering gaming consoles are the primary driver of HDR and 4K content at the moment, even if it's upscaled. Instead of being upfront about the performance, I couldn't find the rest of it because I unfortunately didn't copy out. But essentially, instead of these manufacturers being upfront about the performance, and I understand why they're not, because they don't want people to go, oh, this one's 20 milliseconds, this one's 25, I'm getting the 20 milliseconds one, stuff like that. I get it. But, you know, I wish LG would kind of get this together. And, you know, the other part about it, you know, I know gamers have said LG TVs aren't great for gaming. I've never found that to be the case. As a matter of fact, I've found LG TVs to actually bridge a really nice gaming gap of great picture quality and value for the money without actually sacrificing any performance. Until now. I never had a lag problem with any LG TV up to this point. And quite honestly, I found, you know, if you're looking at an LG versus a Samsung, sometimes they're going to be 20 to 30% cheaper. Now you say, you know, again, someone could argue, if you're already spending the money and you want 4K, blah, 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 spend the money. Yeah, that is an argument. But there are some LG TVs that, I mean, from a visual standpoint, outperform Samsung and Sony. It's just unfortunate that on the back end, we're running into some input lag issues on HDR. And so, you know, much like game consoles and, you know, the console wars, it seems like there's just this weird hate on LG televisions. And I guess if you've had problems like I just have, I suppose that's certainly understandable. If they're not able to lock in or fix this HDR problem, it'll probably be the last HDR TV I buy, or at least the last TV I buy from LG. I'll probably move to Samsung or Sony, but if they square it away, good on them. I mean, HDR is new. It's a cutting-edge tech right now, so there's certainly going to be hurdles, and if you jump in early, this is kind of the kind of shit you kind of run into every now and then. So I'm not super upset about it as much as just, you know, I'd like a response to say, hey, we can fix it, hey, we can't fix it, because if they can, I'll wait on a patch. If they can't, you know, I would seriously consider getting rid of this TV and getting a new one. You know, or my other option would be, hey, this one works just fine. I'm going to actually wait until these OLED TVs have better panels in them and the technology is run its course a little more, and maybe wait till next year to jump on one of the 27 or 2018 models. So we'll see how it goes. You know, I know, you know, talking to people on Twitter that you probably want a little more detail about the PS4 Pro. I mean, there's not, you know, just to jump back to that, there's not a lot for me to throw out there for you. I mean, in a nutshell, it performs better. It looks worse. It does look better. Support is hit and miss. But it's an extra $100. So I guess you just look at it and say, is the extra $100 worth it for me to be future-proofed for the rest of this generation? And Sony said that they still believe in generations. So, well, you know, you kind of have to take them at their word even if you don't want to. And so, you know, that's where I sit. $100. You're going to get better looking games. If it's minimal, it's minimal. But just for me, just the choice of, do you want to look better or do you want better frame rates? Make it look better, or give me the frame rate. Depends on the game. I think that's an option worth having, you know, for what's essentially another game and a half cost, or, you know, one and 2/3 game more for the better console that's on the market. So, you know, I would recommend making the jump even if it's minimal, but that's just me. So there it is. There's, you know, my loose impressions. Sometimes when I fire these up, I don't have any notes. I'm kind of going off the hip here, but we will probably actually talk about it a little more tonight. Mitch and I were recording a serial at night this evening, and so we'll probably hit on that a little more. So this is Sunday morning. We generally record our I apologize, our Retro Jones podcasts on Sunday evenings, so we will cover that later. So until next time, this is Mike, See You All at Night, episode 44. See ya!